Hello, Sinister King here, and welcome back to another one of my episodes. Today we're going to be taking a quick look at Oriental Empires. Now, Oriental Empires came out in 2017, and it's a great grand strategy, 4X strategy game. It's a bit similar to Civilization, so if you're interested in games like Civilization, I do highly recommend it, especially when it comes out on Steam, when it goes on sale on Steam, rather, for about $4. Very, very great game for that price, and I know I have a few friends that will be playing it with me from time to time, and I think I'd like to do a let's play in the future. So let's jump on in. Single player. Now, when the game first came out, you only had the Grand Campaign in the Warring States and a custom game, and then later they added in the Three Kingdoms, Time of the Mongols, and Life of Genghis Khan. So you can actually play several different campaigns here, including endlessly new custom games. We're just going to go ahead and jump into the Grand Campaign for this demonstration. Now, there's several different cultures that you can pick within the Chinese world and the setting of this game. Each one has small little buffs, and honestly, they don't usually play a huge role other than geographical location, and they're just small little bonuses. Now, the civilizations are split up into two main groups. You have the farmers, and it'll let you know in each of these which ones are farmers. And then when you get down here, you get into the herders. So farmers, their whole economy is kind of a slow and steady, and it slowly builds over time. And you have to build farms around the locations of your cities. And basically, you want to grow your population because you get a lot of money from taxing your population and taxing the grain they produce. Whereas the herders have more of a passive income, and they passively herd around their cities. And it's great in the beginning, and it lets you do a lot of early expansion, but then you don't make as much money in the long term. So it just kind of depends on how you want to play your game. And also, I do believe that it benefits the herders a lot more to play very aggressively. So it just depends on how you want to play your game. I personally haven't even really played as the herders too much, so I'd like to be doing a herding campaign in the near future and learn a bit more about the details. For today, though, we're going to go ahead and just grab the Han here. Now, the Han have increased development rate for power, which I'll tell you what that means when we hop in. Basically, it's research. And increased peasant happiness by 10%. So this is why I play as the Han, because they have this happiness increase, and it lets you really control your peasant population a lot more. Doesn't seem like much, but it tends to be the edge between rebellion and no rebellion, for me at least. Also, a chance to kill with crossbows, and you can get peasant crossbows. That's a good combination to have there. So we'll jump on in here to a normal game. I also do love the starting position of the Han as well. So you can see here we have a grand map, just like any other grand strategy game you might be playing. There's different resources around the map, as you can see, and they give you different bonuses. So deer and fish, for example, will give you extra food. Deer, I think, are 3 and fish are 4. Rhinoceros are probably one of the best early game resources to grab. They give you plus 60 per turn, so I'm going to grab. You start with a settler and your leader. They don't say king or anything like that. And one city. So go ahead and click on a couple of farms there. I typically build my farms outside my zone of control. That way I can build, once the farm is built in 2 turns, you'll actually take over this tile. So you can early expand your city. It'll also happen over time naturally. As long as your city location is within 2 hexes of the tiles, various tiles, then you're going to go ahead and get that bonus. So let's see here. I think I'm going to go ahead and just plop my city down right there. And we'll take our leader out that way to explore. We'll grab another settler there, and we'll grab this here. Now, what I'm doing doesn't really matter currently because we're not going to be playing through or anything like that, but it's a good way to kind of, I have to play a little bit to show you guys these things. So up here you have your treasury, your profit for next turn. Occasionally your advisor will pop up with information. You have this little tab here that shows you all of your cities. It tells you the growth rate if you hover over this. And at a glance, you can see if your growth rate's going up or down based on the green. And then it tells you your population. And this is actually, I believe, supposed to be the equivalent to 1,000 each. So 8,000 people in my home city. And it tells you what they're building at a glance. Again, very easy to use. Probably the most important bit of information on this screen for the whole game, in my opinion, is this one right here. This shows you your culture and your authority. Now, there's different texts that you can research and different ways that you can develop your characters to gain more personal authority. So culture and culture as well. So culture is important because it makes your peasants happy, it gives you some trading bonuses, and it gives you victory points so you can actually win the game through culture. Authority is important because that basically will tell you how many cities you're going to have. And you shouldn't have, if you can avoid it, more cities than you have authority. Now, very early game like this, not a big deal. You can go a couple cities above. And actually, at any point in the game, if you really want, you could probably go 1 to 2 cities above your authority. But it can be kind of risky, so you need to just pay attention to what's going on. Another thing that we can see on the map here that I'm just noticing, and I didn't bring up previously, is you have these different icons around the map. And these are people of interest that you can have an encounter with. So, for example, it says a skilled hunter. He might tell us where all the deer icons are around the map, this portion of the map. Or he might even reveal a huge part of the map. No really way to tell till you get there. But anyway, you definitely want to gather these up early game with your leaders. Now, a big portion of your game information is right over here. So you have your royal court. This basically shows you all of your characters. We're going to go ahead and grab our leader and arrange a marriage for him. Now this gal right here, she's 17 and has 2 authority. That's fantastic because she's nice and young, so she'll have plenty of time to have lots of heirs. And she's also got 2 authority, which will add to our leader's authority. And then once we get a male, we can make an heir. And over here you can see your offices. You use technologies to unlock various offices that reduce corruption, gives you higher tax rates, and higher military efficiency. Various things that happen there. When you go into battles, you can actually capture enemies, and they'll show up here as your prisoners. You can execute them, sell them back, or recruit them into your own court if you're low on people and they're interested. You can also develop a couple of slots here for advisors for your leader. Alright, up next we have diplomacy. Now, we don't have any contacts yet, but the diplomacy will tell you everyone that you've met. It'll tell you your status, whether you're at war, friendly, anything like that. It'll tell you your trade information, how much you're making from them by exporting and how much you're importing from them. It'll tell you who their allies are, who their enemies are. It'll also tell you if they recognize you as the emperor or if they're your vassal. Here we have the technology tree. I really enjoy the technology tree because you have 4 different technologies that you basically like groups or trees, and you can research each one at the same from each at the same time. So we're gonna grab these ones here. If you're wondering why I'm picking the ones that I'm picking, it's because these, like right here, it says increase authority. That's very important early game. So I'm gonna select that one. This one gives you the ability to build pottery workshops, which is a way to get income. This one gives us authority, and this one gives us authority. Now you can pick these in whatever order you want. It's really probably not going to have a huge impact on your game other than the pace of it, perhaps. Up next, we have edicts. Currently, we only have 1 edict available to us. We'll unlock further edicts by researching more technologies as we go through the game. So it's important to keep an eye on this and keep an eye on what technologies you're researching. Now edicts will have kind of a little menu like this when you click on them. Gives you a quick overview with kind of a historical theme, and then it tells you your permanent effects and your cancellation effects, and then also any other things. So right here it unlocks another edict. The thing I don't use this for, the reason I don't use this is early game right now at least, is for 2 reasons. One, costs 1 authority permanently, which is not great for the starting of the game when you're trying to build up your cities. Right here, it'll tell you how much it costs to issue it, and then right here, it tells you the upkeep. So that's the second reason, because it's going to cost 80 gold per turn to upkeep this. I prefer to have my economy set up a bit better and a decent military going before I go for this, even though it's a very early one. Alright, and yeah, there's some really major edicts that get you a lot of money, like a grain tax. So you'll start taxing the grain that you produce, and then each food you produce you'll get money. And then there's a salt tax where you'll get 2 gold, or you'll get an extra gold from each person in within your realm. Very good. You'll make a lot of money off of that. Financial summary. Your basic financial summary breaks everything down, where you're getting money from and where that money's going. Not too much to look into here. Player status. This will tell you where you're at, how close you are to victory. It'll also give you your basic info. It'll tell you your culture and authority and how much authority your leader has. You don't want rely on your leader's authority too much, because what can happen is your leader will actually die and that authority goes away. So if you have 6 authority from your leader and your clan has 6 authority, right, and then your leader dies but you have 12 cities, ooh, you're going to have a rebellion. So just keep an eye on that. You don't want to let that get away from you. And then you can also automate various features here. I've never used that, so I couldn't tell you how well it works. And lastly, we have our statistics, and it just gives you all different kinds of statistics about the game. The main thing that I pay attention to is right here. It'll tell you your victory points, so you can see where you're at on as far as how close you are to winning, or if you're ahead. And then cultural victory points right here. Oh, sorry. The other thing I look at here is number of settlements, because it's just easier once you have a lot to, at a glance, it'll tell you exactly how many cities you have, and you can match that up with your authority. Alright, I think we've covered all of the basics for the UI here. Now let's talk about this second UI you have. It's a bit cumbersome, I guess, with how many different things you have, but I really do appreciate it now that I've learned how to use it, because everything's at your fingertips the whole time, which is just makes the game very playable. Right here, we have 4 different land improvements. So if you click on each of these, well, these 2 we can't right now because we don't have the technology. But later, you'll be able to click on these, and this one will let you clear forests and marshes. The farming cultures require fertile grounds and cleared grounds to actually build farms. So you can see right here, we can't build farms in the forest. We'd actually have to research something under the crafting tree to clear these away and build farms there. Additionally, there's other technologies to terrace gentle hills, and even I think steep hills you might be able to terrace as well. So later we can actually turn all of this into farmland. Just takes a lot more energy, and it kind of wears your people out more, and they'll get kind of upset with you about it. Right here, this tab, we don't have the technology for either, because again, this is just the first turn, but this lets you build roads, which will increase your trade speed and the amount of money that you receive from trade between cities along land routes. And then you have your external buildings. Now, external buildings let you build pavilions and shrines and all kinds of other things. Also, your copper, gold, and jade mines will be built through the external buildings. And, you know, these will just have a little bit of upkeep, and they'll give you some increased happiness for nobles. Okay, great. And then the shrines will give you increased happiness for your peasants, I believe. And you can also build your boat houses and trade yards, or trading ports, through this. So you can do a sea-based trade, or you can do a land-based trade. The sea-base, I think, costs a little bit more to set up, but once it's running, I think it is much more efficient and makes more. So you just kind of got to balance what you want out of the game. Also, sometimes you'll hop into a custom game, or even, you know, your starting position in the campaign might not really have rivers, so you're going to have to rely on land trade only. Right now, we're in the rich plains of China, so we have plenty of rivers, and I'll probably would go for a sea-based. Now, there's some information that you have right at your menu here. It tells you the income of the city, it tells you how much food the city has, it tells you the noble unrest, and it shows your peasant unrest. So, and then it also shows your population and your population growth. Now, your whole population is divided into two groups, nobles and peasants. And unrest is very important to keep track of, because if it gets too high, you'll have revolts and probably lose the game. Down here, real quick, it tells you what your population's doing. So we can see 6 of our population are farming, and the other 2 are trying to build those other 2 farms. Yeah, if you click on any of these, it'll give you the details. So the unrest is one that I use often. It'll tell you what's making them happy, and it'll tell you why they're unhappy. Insufficient authority is the main one for these nobles currently. And then it'll break it down for the other half of your population, which is your peasants. Or not half, but the other group. Peasants kind of get into a conundrum where they'll be unhappy because of the lack of food, if there's a drought or something like that, but then they'll be even more unhappy when you try to make them build farms. So it's good to stay a little bit ahead on the farms. Just be careful, because if you grow your population too fast, it's rather expensive to upgrade to a city, which would be right here. So it's 2,000, and each of the towns you build are going to have that. And to do well in the game, you're going to need between like 6 and 15 pounds. So it gives you an idea. That adds up pretty quick, and you don't make a lot usually. And it requires a population of 40. So that's what I'm saying. If you build too many farms too fast, your population will skyrocket and you won't be able to afford this. And then your peasants will get really unhappy and they'll revolt. So you saw me click on the build screen here. Now that we're there, we'll go ahead and cover this. Basically, you have different areas of building. You have your palace, your city, temples and schools, which you get later from research, and as well you get additional defenses. And then you have your civic buildings. So a lot of these will interlock. Basically, you'll have to have a palace to build mud walls and, kind of stuff like that. Also, you only have so many slots down here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this bazaar, because the details, you got to hit this drop down. It tells you trade within 12 hexes, trade multiplier value of 2, and it produces items for trade, and it increases internal trade by 50%. So all those things are very good for us in the start here. It's good to get this up and running as you're getting new settlements out there. Now you can see that took up one of our spaces. So as your city grows, with this upgrade here, you'll see more and more building slots populate. You can also look at what's already constructed. So we already have, what is this? A town, and we already have a wooden palisade. Another thing that's important to keep track of is actually right here. So this will tell you the cost, how many turns it'll take, and I guess this is monthly upkeep, right? Now, a lot of people, including myself when I started playing this game, I thought if I built every building in every town, I would just be doing super well. Well, it turns out if you build a granary in every town and you have 15 towns, that's pretty expensive, and you won't be doing so well if you do that. You won't be able to have any kind of military, really. As well, military buildings. I thought, oh cool, I'm gonna build all these military buildings in all these different towns, and then I was going bankrupt and I couldn't figure out why. Well, the reason is because they're quite expensive to maintain. So what I like to do is I pick out, one city every 5 or so, and I'll build a couple military buildings there. And then I'll pick out like 1 or 2 across my whole empire, and I'll build all the military buildings there. And that'll be my main recruitment area. Now, along with that strategy, it's important in those areas to also build as many palaces as you can, or upgrade your palaces as many times as you can, because it adds to your recruitment pool, which we'll take a look at right now. So this is my recruitment area. You can see my recruitment pool is just a single guy, and I don't have another one available for 8 more turns because I already recruited there. This will show you your various units available. You'll have nobles available eventually. I don't have them right now. And that's kind of like your early elite troops. You'll have trained troops available. You'll have cavalry available. And trained troops are probably the best because they are professional units. They don't waver as easily, and they're far more efficient in combat. But they also have a very hefty price, like 40 to 50 gold per turn to maintain each unit. And then you'll have your cheap little peasant units like this. Peasant units are really great early and mid game, and even late game you need some to support typically. The problems with them is that they're easily killed. It upsets your peasants to recruit from them, because basically you're forcing them into service for not very much money. And if you recruit nobles, same thing, your nobles will get upset about that. A little trick you can use if your peasants are really unhappy, recruit a couple noble units and it'll suppress that unrest a little bit, and then vice versa works as well. So if your nobles are really unhappy, you can actually recruit some peasants to suppress that. And then, as you also saw, we can recruit settlers from this location, as we already did. And basically what I was saying with the palace is each time you upgrade it, it'll add a little slot here. So you'll be able to have, 10 or 15 even available, and you'll be able to crank out big armies really quick. So you want that ability in your cities that have lots of military buildings, because you can crank out a lot of more expert units, essentially. And yeah, so let's go ahead and just end the turn here. The end turn is down in the bottom corner. You can fast forward or you can slow it down if you prefer. Another cool thing about this game is as far back as you can zoom, you can also zoom quite far in and look at your people and stuff, up close, which I really love, and it makes the battles kind of cool to watch. I don't know if we're gonna get to a battle in this or not, just because I don't want this video to be too long here. Okay, so I told you guys that I would tell you a little bit about economies in this game. Now I covered it a little bit about not building too many buildings in every city, and specifically you don't want to build bazaars and trade product producing buildings too much in every city, because what'll end up happening to you is you'll be paying a lot of money, and if every city has pottery workshops and they're cranking out lots of pottery, right, they're not going to have anyone to sell it to, because it's only based off demand. So the strategy that I go for is I basically pick a center trade hub, which in this case may or may not end up being my capital. I build a center trade hub, and then all around it I'll build little cities. And I forgot to send this guy out. Not a big deal though. He's gonna go up there and get us some food. So anyway, you'll have a trade hub, and then like spokes of a wheel, you'll have trade routes going all the way around. In these outer cities, you're not gonna build production stuff unless they have a bonus for that, or trade stuff at the start at least, because you want to produce everything in your trade hub, and you just want to build the population of these cities to be really big, because they'll have lots of demand. You'll send everything out and you'll just rake in the money, so it'll be well worth it. Stack without orders. Okay, we have an encounter here. Pay 141, show the map right now. So, yeah, that's great. It only showed one, so hopefully there's more than that around here. But that is going to alter the route that we take, because we definitely want to get that. The other thing you want to make sure of in your first cities is that they're within 12 hexes of wherever you decide you want your trade hub. I've done a Han playthrough with this, where I actually picked right here as my trade hub, and then I picked this as my kind of like citadel, because there's not really like great ground over yonder. So yeah, so I picked over here because I could build more trading around it, basically. Now herders, they can herd in plateaus and arid lands and hills and steep hills, so they can basically use all different varieties of flat territory or cleared territory to herd animals. So you can settle in more undesirable locations, whereas the farmers, you're going to want to stick to these fertile plains as best you can. Stack without orders. Oh, right. Okay, go down to that next one there. Oh no, I clicked out. Okay, there we go. I have two monitors, so if I click just barely off the screen, it'll actually close me out of this here. Alright, so this isn't the best spot for a city because it's kind of close and I got these steep mountains behind it. But, you know, it's an early game. And that's going to make our, yeah, 124. Look at that. Our income jumped up so much. Alrighty. Let's go to the farms here and we'll just slap down. Oop, I'm not following my own advice. Slap down a couple of farms. Alrighty. Again, you want to grow these outer cities populations pretty quickly and get a pretty decent sized population. So we have another encounter. Let's see what it is. It's a trap. Pay 208 and lighten your load. So sometimes that happens. Not a big deal. I mean, we have the cash for it. So, our bazaar has been built. So now you can see we have a little trade route going there, and it's probably not making much money. Yeah, 0 money right now, but that's okay. We don't really need the money right this second. And once we have some techs, we'll build some production buildings, and it'll make us a lot of money in the end. Another good reason for me to go down this way is, oh, look, bandits. Okay, well, we don't have the units to deal with that down there, so let's build this guy here. You two go down here, you go meet them. And you are within range of that rhino. I'm going to be a little bit greedy and just see if I can find some deer or something like that around here as well. A stack without orders. Oh, right. You can actually select these guys and a couple of things. You can give them different orders, so you can tell them to attack or charge in or harass. So if you have like horse archers, that's a good one. Outflank. They take forever to outflank. I don't know if it's really worth it, honestly. Defensive, support, you know. So there's different orders you can give here. Or you can just leave it on attack and they'll do just fine through the whole game. But right here, you can also recruit, disband, tell them to just wait. I'm going to go ahead and click auto explore. You can also decide which way they're facing. Oh, I got to zoom in a little bit for that. So you can tell them to churn, you know. Maybe I got to turn this off. Hold on a sec. Yeah, see, now they're going to turn. So if you have enemies right here, you don't want your guys' backs facing the enemies, right? That's kind of common sense there. So we'll go ahead and set them to auto explore. And we'll say hi to the Shang here. So we don't have any formal relationship. Tells you their attitude, their strength, their wealth, all of that. And then you have, you know, basic trading information here. Something very good to do in this game is create vassals, because the way that they balance this makes it, in my opinion, a fairly historically accurate game. So you can't just have, you know, 100 cities across all of China or 1,000 cities across all of China. Like, you can't rule that. You're never going to have that authority, right? What you can do is go conquer people and turn them into your vassals and create an empire of kingdoms under you, which is what you want to do. A good trick of doing that is you go conquer a few of their lands and you just really spank them in combat, right? And then you can make peace with them. That's only an option if you're at war, right? And then it'll also have trade settlements if you have their settlements. And they're going to want their settlements back. So you can give them back some of their settlements and make them your vassal right here. And it'll make them more likely to accept that. And you want to give them settlements too. If you go, you know, so like the Shang are here. They have enemies up here. And I march through and fight them. And I take enemy towns that the Shang want. I'll just give those to the Shang because they'll pay you for the monthly for them. So you'll get a good bit of gold if you put that in the agreement, that is. And then also it strengthens your vassals and they can defend themselves, giving you a nice buffer between you and your enemies. You don't want super weak vassals because, you know, if I have vassals all around me, right? I vassalize the Chu, the Wu, and the Shang. They're all going to be at war with people past them, and you're supposed to go defend them. And so you're not going to be able to send armies all over, basically, at once. Just got to think ahead a little bit on it. Alright, let's end the turn here. And we're actually going to wrap this video up here in just a second. I just wanted to cover some of the basics, show you a little bit of the gameplay, and I would like to... Okay, I don't know why I did that, but that's okay. I would like to show you guys a quick battle as well. So now right here, I'm gonna just verify that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's exactly 12 away. So we'll just settle right there. It's nice in the middle in this big opening, and again, the rhino is still within 2. So that's gonna actually make our income go up to 296. Wow, that's great. It's a really good early income. Quite lucky to find those rhinoceroses so close. It's also good to plop down lots of palisade walls and whatnot, because if you don't have anything here, any walls or any troops, anyone can walk in and conquer that city, and you don't want that. So we'll tell these guys to go here. Technology warning. We finished our first technology. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the food production next. Not that it matters for this, but we'll do a playthrough here. I'll start recording one in the next few days, hopefully. I'm not an expert at this game at all. I often lose the game, actually. So, yeah, that's really great. That gives us a percentage bonus for research. And we found the chew as well. Okay. So, let's end this turn and watch this battle here. So you can see this is better than Civilization. It's like, I don't understand why Civilization never made any effort at all to make battles fun. They're just miserable and kind of a nuisance. We can zoom, you know, all the way in. And basically, we're not watching like a live thing. We're not watching a live thing, we're watching like a cutscene, essentially. So there's nothing we can do to dish out orders now. Our orders are already given. But I kind of like it. It gives you the added stress that a real leader would have by basically we delegate our orders out to our generals and we just leave it up to them to actually, you know, follow through and execute that. So things can go sideways that, you know, you didn't have any control over it. And I really like that aspect of the game. A cheeky little move I like to do here is these guys are going to probably settle like right in here. If I had to guess, I'd say they'll settle right here. So you can actually just conquer them because they don't have any troops with them. It's just a settler. We can go to war and take their settlement, and we just got a free city. And then, you know, keep going down and win the war and make them our vassals. The Chu and the Shang are usually my first 2 vassals when I play as the Han. But, yeah, this game is really great, especially if you can get it, like I said, for $4 or $5 off Steam. And yeah, I hope I gave you guys some good information about it. I don't have too much more to say, honestly. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I will respond. And if you have any comments or suggestions, I'll check it out, because, like I said, I don't have a ton of experience with this game. And the lessons I've learned were hard-learned lessons that took a long time. But yeah, so for now, I've been Sinister King. Thank you for watching. Give this video a like if you learned anything from it, or dislike if you didn't like it. Also, if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to be putting out content over the next few months pretty rapidly. Try to grow the channel a bit and do things that interest me and hopefully you guys. If you have any suggestions for games to cover, leave them in the comments and I'll take a look at them. But for right now, thank you for watching. Have a good day.